Always trying to find an excuse for eating. Like when Sal died. That was a great excuse. But I don't need an excuse. I have to eat. When I eat, I'm me. Like when I was a kid, it felt more natural when I was eating. And eating and eating and eating. God, why do they want me to be skinny? I'm not so bad as I am. Am I?
Fatso is a dramatic comedy movie from 1980 that stars Dom DeLuise as Dominic DiNapoli, a man who has struggled with being overweight all of his life. I saw this movie as a child, and it really hit home for me, because I was a fat child and teen who struggled with my own weight, using it to cope for depression and bullying by other children, in the same way that the character of Dom did, so this movie was very personal for me. Now, as a young adult, I was able to lose all that weight and get in shape, and have been ever since, but weight struggles are just like any addiction, and you never really get over it. It's something you struggle with all your life, so this movie still resonates with me today. The opening of the movie starts with a montage of scenes under the credits that depict Dominic as a child growing up, and how his mother would calm his crying by feeding him. This habit becomes reinforced as Dom grows up by his cousin Sal, who is morbidly obese even as a child. Sal always has candy and snacks on him and shares it with Dom frequently as a bonding mechanism between the two. We then cut to years later, as Sal has passed away at the very young age of 39 from a heart attack due to his weight. Dom is there with his sister Antoinette, played by the great Anne Bancroft, who incidentally wrote and directed this movie, the first and only time she has done so. There's also Dom's younger brother, Frank, played by Ron Carey. Once again, Dom uses food to cope with the grief he feels over losing his cousin Sal. As the siblings and the family mourn the death of Sal, Antoinette points out to Dom that he died because he was fat, and that if Dom didn't lose weight, he would wind up the same way. Dom agrees to go and see a diet doctor. The next day, Dom goes to open the gift card store that he and his sister own, and on the way to the shop, Dom eats an apple that a vendor gives him, and then stops for a hot dog, again establishing his habitual addiction to food, and that he can't even walk a few minutes to work without eating something. As he's about to take a bite of his hot dog, he looks up and sees that there's a woman cleaning a window in a souvenir shop that immediately catches his attention. She notices him as well, but Dominic is too shy to say hello, so he just continues to eat his hot dog. Upon arriving at the shop, there's an old woman who is a regular customer named Mrs. Goodman. They get to talking about Sal's death, and she informs him that she used to also be overweight, but lost it all using a support group called Chubby Checkers. Antoinette finally shows up, and Dom admits that he, quote, forgot to visit the diet doctor, which infuriates Antoinette. Dom insists he's in good shape, and begins dancing with Antoinette to prove it, only to be winded after only a few seconds. He finally admits he needs help, and decides to go to the doctor for real this time. The restrictive diet he's put on is very extreme, where he can basically eat nothing but vegetables and broiled meats. Even fruit is off the table. The same night he makes a hearty meal for his little brother, but it just makes Dom envious and hungry to see and smell the food he just made. This hunger eventually leads Dom, who goes to pick up a birthday cake for his nephew, to secretly eat part of it.
Here, blow up these balloons.
Okay.
You ate the Oni! Well!
Since the doctor's diet is far too restrictive for Dom to stay on it, they employ the help of Mrs. Goodman. She explains how Chubby Checkers works and agrees to take him to a meeting. It's basically a support group full of overweight people. Each person is assigned another overweight person or persons to check up on them, hence the name Chubby Checkers. Meanwhile, the girl from the souvenir shop, Lydia, played by Candice Azara, stops by because her shop needs wrapping paper since hers is on back order. So Dom gets to talking with her as he shows her options. He offers to deliver the paper she picks out to the shop she owns the next day, which he does. The two talk some more, and it's clear they both like each other, but Dom is too shy to ask her out. So he goes and eats a large pizza instead to cope with his feelings of inadequacy. Dom goes to his first meeting of Chubby Checkers with Mrs. Goodman, and is impressed and inspired. And after Dom puts a lock on the cupboards and fridge and gives Frank the key to stop himself from randomly eating, the two go to bed for the night. But after not being able to sleep, Dom puts on the television and sees nothing but food ads, which drives him crazy. He then goes into his brother's room and threatens him with a toy gun, and then ultimately a knife, to try and extract the key from him, but finally comes to his senses, and Frank calls his Checkers. Dom has been assigned Sonny and Oscar, played by Richard Caron and Paul Ziegler. They come over, and Dom admits to his feelings about Lydia and how he couldn't ask her out, so he ate a large pizza instead. This sets off a comical scene where the three obese men start talking about their favorite food. This eventually leads to them all being so hungry that Sonny rips the doors off the cupboards and the three go on a massive eating binge. The next morning, Lydia comes over to see Dom, who is feeling very physically sick because of the binging, as well as ashamed of himself. She sympathizes with him and tells him not to give up. Dom finally asks Lydia out, and she agrees, which makes him very happy. The two go out over the next few weeks, and Dom begins to lose weight inadvertently, as he is so preoccupied with Lydia that he doesn't continuously eat all the time.
You got no ass. Where's your ass? How'd you lose all that weight?
I don't know. I wasn't even trying. I think it's Lydia.
Boy, girls are powerful.
But one night, as Dom is preparing to propose to her, she disappears and doesn't answer his call. He becomes so upset, thinking that she dumped him, that as he's driving home with $40 of Chinese food for the whole family, which would be approximately $150 today, he eats the entire thing and then comes home very late and sneaks up to his room. Antoinette, who is worried sick that maybe he got in an accident, notices that he is already home and has snuck in, and immediately figures out what he's done. She comes into his room and starts beating up on him in a rage. Dom takes it without saying a word, and then goes into a monologue where he first blames his mother for his addiction, saying she is always feeding him, then backtracking and forgiving her. He then comes to a realization and says he's always made excuses for his eating, but he doesn't need an excuse anymore. He just has to eat. It's just who he is, and when he eats, he's being himself, and he hopes that his family can love him regardless. He then gets a phone call and finds out that Lydia had simply been out of town on an emergency. Her brother had been in a coma, and that's why she hadn't responded to him. He's overwhelmingly happy and goes out to see her. While they're in the hospital together, they stop by to see the newborns, and Dom proposes to her, and she accepts. The film ends with the credits rolling, as an array of photos depicting their life together roll by, showing them getting married, having children, and Dom's weight fluctuating over the years, going up and down and up again. I do love this movie, and as I said in the beginning, it was a very personal movie for me as a child and a teen, and even today. However, I do have mixed feelings about the ending, as it seems that Dom in some way gives up and concedes that he'll just always be overweight and always be fat in some capacity. As I said earlier, I was able to conquer this demon and go from being morbidly obese to in shape, and have kept that relatively the same for over 30 years, so I don't think it's impossible to change and grow. However, the reality is that the vast majority of people never do conquer their addiction and do remain obese all their lives. And maybe that's what Bancroft was going for, a sense of a realistic outcome for most people, but that they can still find someone and be happy regardless. I'm not sure, but I do regard this as a great movie and still enjoy it a lot, and I think you will too. I'm Triceratops. Thanks for taking time to review this forgotten gem, and I'll see you in the next review.